Now, this is Black Light, Elder Black Light, the Supreme Council, Conscious Council for the young black man and black woman of today, and maybe some elders. Now we know that we dig. When we dig deep, go to the root of a situation, like the Indian Wars, the real name, the real code name for the New World Order is Manifest Destiny. So now we're going to go to the King Alfred plan right away because I got one more video after this one for today I want to lay on you.
Security Advisor William Clark, the late CIA Director William Casey, and Attorney General Edwin Meese were part of that informal secret structure, according to several congressional investigators and government officials. Skipping down. But according to the sources, the administration's propensity for secret activities may have had its beginnings in an October 1980 decision by Casey, then Reagan's campaign manager, to create a so-called October Surprise Group to monitor President Jimmy Carter's feverish negotiations with Iran for the release of 52 American hostages. The group, led by campaign foreign policy advisor Richard Allen, was founded out of concern that Carter might pull off an October surprise, such as a last-minute deal for release of the hostages before the November 4th election. One of the group's first acts was a meeting with a man who claimed to represent Iran and who offered to release the hostages to Reagan. Allen and another campaign aide, Lawrence Silberman, in April told the Miami Herald of the meeting and said that McFarlane, then a Senate Armed Services Committee aide, arranged and attended it. McFarlane later became Reagan's national security advisor and in 1986 played a key role in the Iran-Contra affair. Allen and Silberman said the offer, which they said they rejected, was aimed at ensuring Reagan's victory. Congressional investigators now link another well-known campaign incident, the theft of confidential briefing materials from Carter's campaign before the October 28, 1980 Carter-Reagan debate, to the same secret group. The investigators now believe that Casey somehow obtained the materials used to brief Reagan on what Carter was likely to say and passed them to James Baker, another top Reagan campaign aide who in Reagan's first term served as White House Chief of Staff. Okay, so what we're talking about here, the plan, which as we'll see later came to be known as Rex 84, was a plan put together by, among other people, Oliver North, William Clark, Edwin Meese, and Bill Casey, the late Bill Casey, of course, who's not around anymore to talk about his part of the affair, and was planned to go into effect under a number of circumstances, but the most interesting for our purpose are the one, widespread internal dissent, and B, specifically political opposition to an invasion by U.S. military forces. Again, the Reagan administration, being the kind of folks that they are, have learned some lessons, and one of the lessons they learned was how an outraged populace could gum up the works for a lovely military adventure like Vietnam. And the Reagan administration, if they were going to go to war with Nicaragua, was not going to have to put up with such irritations as dissent at home and the free expression of political opposition.
It's worth noting, too, because one of the things that we discussed at the end of Radio Free America number 30, our first program on the terror connections, was a plan. First of all, we talked about the Lepenka bombing itself, in which Aiden Pastora, who although he was opposed to the Sandinistas, was equally opposed to the Contra factions themselves, primarily because of the fact that their leadership were all the former Samosistas. And in large measure due to the fact that he refused to cooperate with the CIA, members of the secret team apparently set off a bomb. I say apparently because it has not yet been settled in American court, but they set off a bomb in an attempt to kill Aiden Pastora. That was initially blamed on the Sandinistas and was being used as yet another piece of propaganda to make that regime look bad. One of the things that we spoke about also at the end of Radio Free America number 30 was a proposed plan by this same secret team to blow up the U.S. Embassy to Costa Rica, killing the United States ambassador to that country, Louis Tams, himself a collaborator with many members of the secret team, and then blaming that on the Sandinistas and using that as an excuse to invade Nicaragua. One of the things that emerged during the public hearings this past spring and summer was that Oliver North also had envisioned what he called an Alamo scenario, to get the Contras involved in a big battle where they would lose a lot of men, they would take heavy casualties. This again to instigate an overt U.S. military invasion of Nicaragua. Had there been widespread public opposition to that invasion, and there are strong indications that there would be, more than 70% of the population of this country opposes Contra aid, then the Oliver North scenario to institute martial law would have been placed in effect. Now, martial law and the Reagan administration are two things that are not strangers to one another. One of the things that we focused on in considerable measure in Radio Free America number 23 was the apparent deliberate use of terrorism when Ronald Reagan was governor of California in order to do just this sort of thing, to drive popular political sentiment to the right and to create a social and political environment conducive to the institution of police state tactics. Many of the terrorist incidents which plagued California under the Reagan administration, notably the Symbionese Liberation Army, appear to have in fact been put together by the national security establishment and the police in order to effect a right-wing takeover, if you will.
So now as you see it, Bush used the same technique on 9/11 to invade the Iraqis, and instead of calling it manifest destiny, they're calling it the New World Order, see. So just another code name. So you know, Trump, he doing what they always been doing. You know, he using excuses, terrorism and different things to invade other countries and carry out their manifest destiny. And you know, they always had a beef with China. They always had a beef with China. See, the First World Order ultimately was a righteous order. Dynasties and empires lasted thousands and thousands and thousands of years. People were eating right, they was living longer. You know, and you know, when you don't try to be righteous, which means you're not even giving justice to yourself, then you're going to have to pay the price. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to keep on hitting you with this King Alfred plan, stage by stage, little by little. And see, when Bush, when that 9/11 thing hit and Bush implemented Homeland Security. Now you heard them say in the King Alfred plan, Reagan them was implementing martial law. They was doing it stage after stage, see. Little by little, each generation, they slice off a little bit of that New World Order real thin, so you can't know what's happening to you. And then they're going to hit you hard with it. This might be the phase of the New World Order or the manifest destiny. They're hitting you hard because of that serious sun. And the melanated people, you know, well, it's that time. You know, it's that time. It's that time for the Caucasian world to fall. Babylon is falling, and it can't get up. Y'all can't see it, You know, because y'all wrapped up in sport and play. Y'all wrapped up in partying, sexual activities, getting blowed out your mind, getting high. That trick knowledge, you got a lot of y'all. And you got a whole lot of brothers turning traitor on us. Because they don't know, you know. They think they being slick, you know. But we got one more to come. We got one more video we want to show you for today. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad talking about Yaqub. Yaqub is Israel. Yaqub is a black man who made the Caucasian. Stay tuned for that. All this gonna start falling into place. Everything. And if you don't get it now, I got more I'm gonna hit you with. Eventually it's gonna get to you and you're gonna know what I'm saying is the real deal. Black like sugar and sugar, salt and salt. If you don't dig this, it ain't my fault.